What's the title of the video? Don't do what we're doing. I'm here and I dragged my husband and my mom along to paint one of the USA maps that a lot of people have on their playgrounds. A lot of schools have them on their playgrounds, and it was my favorite game when I was in elementary school, and we would play all these cool fun games with it, and we would do like chain links and all that stuff, and you'd have to go find the states, and it was just great. I feel like there were 12 of us that would fit on a state. Now that I'm standing on it, I'm like, how did we get so many people on these states? But I'm gonna walk you through some tips and tricks because it's definitely not as easy as I thought it was gonna be, or as quick. I'm gonna tell you where I bought the stencil and all the other things I've learned, probably things that you shouldn't do or probably should have done. So let me walk you through that. I'm starting this video kind of in the middle of the process, so it might not feel as organized, but this is what I've learned. Number one is, if you are an artist and someone has asked you to paint this at their elementary school, I highly recommend it be on cement, not asphalt. However, a lot of elementary schools do not have cement for their play area. It's usually asphalt because it's very much a lot cheaper and durable for all the wear. Now, that being said, I would not take a job for this again. I don't care. If it paid triple, yeah, maybe, but it's so, probably not. It's so hard on your body. So I would recommend encouraging volunteers, encouraging the school to get involved, maybe some older students, getting the stencil and having some money for, or the budget for just resources and walk them through it. But I would not take this job as a paid job again. I do hopscotches and custom hopscotches, but I would recommend it to be a volunteer project and not something that you spend your time doing unless you have 5 or 6 people that you want to pay to help you.
This is the original map they had painted years ago.
So originally I was gonna project this, and then I thought I'd be smarter and just buy a stencil. So they sell stencils online, and it actually comes more compact. It actually came in, that's the stencil, but it came in this little box actually. So I did order mine online. There's a lot of places that offer it, maybe not a lot, but there are multiple companies at different prices. USA Maps. And honestly, I think I bought one that was a little bit more expensive, but it was in stock, so I had to. The other ones were not. It shipped really fast. And then I'll walk you through the process of us laying it out, but basically we picked our spot. Previously we had this area pressure washed and cleaned, and then when we picked our spot we laid it out, and you'll see that in the video. And then we taped it down, and we used the line marking paint for all these little dots. And I think that you can use regular spray paint probably. I just think it might get clogged and be not as easy, so we use this because it sprays straight down like that. DeWalt needs to fix that problem. And then we folded the stencil back up, and maybe I thought maybe to myself that I would be reusing it for another playground in the future, and again, only if it's on cement. I don't know, or if I have like 15 people to help me. It is pretty delicate paper, so it rips really easily. So we cut the tape off to refold it, so it's not going to be perfect. We ended up cutting out Hawaii and Alaska and moving them because they were in a different position. So the Alaska comes on the stencil, and it comes in 2. So this is the small Alaska, and we moved it up here. Originally it was here, and the big Alaska was here, so you have a choice. And Hawaii was down here, so we ended up cutting out Hawaii and moving it here, and moving Alaska up there. But you can see this is one coat of paint. Looks like California didn't really get very covered, so we'll work on that. And then maybe straighten out the Nevada line, but we'll do 2 more coats. We'll just roll on the second coat as much as we can, and then figure out, sometimes this gets a little confusing, so it does have a map that it shows you. And then the color codes are on the other paper, so we wrote it on this one, but it does show you kind of what colors to do. We were going to mix 2 other colors. The red didn't turn out. We didn't like the red. We were going to mix purple, but we didn't. We just wanted to get it done. So that's kind of how the stencil lays out. So those lines show you the 8 panels that you lay out. Don't do it when it's windy. I promise you that. Day 1, we got this far with 2 people. We will finish tomorrow.
If possible, it would be nice to have a place where you can store all of your supplies safely overnight so you don't have to keep loading up and unloading. This did, in fact, take probably about 4 days. The first 2 days were with 2 people, and then the last 2 were like half days with just me. However, it wasn't a lot to unload, and I definitely did bring a little bit of excess because I was going back and forth between this project and a hopscotch I was working on the other side, using all the same materials, but I just wanted backup just in case, and I didn't want to keep getting up and up and up and into my car.
I also highly recommend putting your paints in squeeze bottles, especially if it's warm out, because if you put your paint in these trays, it dries really quickly, or you'll get a really tough top coat and have to move around that, and it gets chunky. So we started putting it in squeeze bottles that we just bought on Amazon, and then squirting it out and rolling it or painting it from there. And then make sure to use brushes that you're going to ruin. And that's okay. These ones are getting pretty mangled, and then I use a smaller brush for the details, maybe firmer. This one's really soft, so we use firm brushes for the edging, and then I just kind of push the paint into the edge to get a crisper line. And then this is the paint that we are using. So this is made for Asphalt. This is Sherwin-Williams Pro Park paint, and it comes in yellow, red, blue, black, and white. And then you need to mix your orange and your green. So when we emptied out a can, I ended up mixing some green by pouring the the yellow and blue in here, and then mixed some green and used that. And then I'll do the same for orange. The instructions did say that you need 1 gallon of yellow, 1 gallon of blue, or 1 gallon of each color. So it was green, yellow, pink, orange, and blue. However, they don't make orange and pink in this paint or any traffic paint or any paint that goes onto asphalt. At least locally around me, we cannot get it for a good price. So we decided to mix it. However, because we're mixing, I'm finding that we actually needed 2 gallons of yellow. I think 1 gallon of blue would have been okay, but I used it for the hopscotch, so I ended up getting another gallon of blue, and then I got a 2nd gallon of white just to lighten up the colors and also add some opaqueness to the colors. So I would recommend getting 2 gallons of yellow, 2 gallons of white. I think the red would be okay at 1, blue would be okay at 1. I mix them in here. First, I make sure I have a full bottle, and then I make sure I have plenty before I even start a state, so at least that one state can be all one color instead of running out, and then you're getting kind of 2 colors on a state when you have to mix. Texas was really big, right there. I don't know if I finished that part because a neighbor was yelling at me to tell me that she was looking out for this because some kids were messing with it this morning. Not new. Anyways, we ran out of orange that we had made, and so we had to mix a new color, and you can see that right here it's not the same, but luckily we are 2nd coating everything because of how it looks, so it should all look better. So the yellow, you can see we made like 3 different yellows here, and then Washington has 1 coat. This is the 2nd coat for yellow, so that's why I think 2nd coat is important. And again, it dries really quickly, especially on a warm day. And I did bring a blower because, like a high-powered blower, because it gets super dusty and rocks all over it. People walk on it, I walk on it, so I like to blow the state off before I paint it, so there's not any dirt or rocks. So I take my squirt bottle and I squirt a whole bunch. You don't want to be stingy. It's going to be so much harder. Just get it. And then I go in with my brush and try to get in every little hole. So pressure, back and forth. You just have to be really aggressive with it. The more paint, the better, but you don't want so much paint where it globs up like that. And then you can move it around. But when you're rolling it, it misses all these little divots, even with the roller that gets into all the texture. And your shoulder will hurt, your wrist will hurt, your hand will cramp. Second coat will be rolled on. And then for the edges, I find it's good to put your paint kind of close to the edge and then grab a smaller brush, and you can go slow without too much pressure because then it'll push it over into all the other asphalt. And kind of drag it along, and then almost just kind of wiggle it. And what I want to avoid is just having like a really big buildup of blob on the edge, so I try to smear it as much as I can. You can even bring it in a little bit, and then I can take this and spread it down here. But this is, I mean, it looks way better from far away. Up close, you try to get like super perfect, but you can't tell from far away. I mean, it's almost impossible to get a straight line on all these little rocks, so I think from far away, it all looks fine. And then as I go on, before I start doing second coats and we start merging all these states together, it's fun to kind of take a step back and see like that line's not straight. You try to follow the dots as much as you can. I think the example, I mean, they wanted you to paint white in between all the states for an outline from everything. I didn't want to do that, especially on asphalt. It would still be really hard and just probably double the work. So I'm just going back to straighten lines before second coats best I can. Like this one here, you know, all the second coats are going to be hopefully all one color, at least per state. So like this one definitely needs some help. So I'm just going to try to go through and straighten as I can, which I'll have to unclog or no, open. Oh, that broke. Look at that. Probably just open this. And then put a little bit of paint here. Easier to do the darker color than the lighter color. And just kind of maybe pull in the excess. I don't like the whole bunch of excess. Pull in the excess and then I'll make my line. Okay, I'm gonna put the phone down so I can actually do this, but then I'm gonna straighten this out. Okay, it's been about a day and a half with two people mostly painting all of this. Everything has one coat. Some states over here have two coats. This is the two coat coverage right here. It looks fantastic. And then the one coat coverage, you can see more of the asphalt through it. So that is gonna be a pain in the butt. But it does go a little quicker, and then we're just gonna make sure that we have enough color for every state that we do. We're gonna try to match the colors as best we can, but every time we have to remix, it does change it a little bit. You can see we started to get consistent with the oranges. This was the first orange. And then the oranges turned out a little bit better throughout the process. This was the second orange, so we got better. Yellows are starting to match better, and green seems to be, every time we mix it, absolutely the same. So happy with it. On to day 3. Weather is not looking good. It is the next morning, and we had a lot of thunder this morning, and it said there was a 10% chance of rain, and the windshield is a little misty, so I'm just gonna do what I can and hope that it doesn't get worse than this, because then the cement's not gonna be dry enough, or the asphalt's not gonna be dry enough to continue to paint. But the sun comes out tonight, so that's nice. I just really wanted to finish this weekend. We spent all day there yesterday doing the map. I've done 2 days on the hopscotch already. And then I just want to be done. All right, so yesterday morning, which was Sunday, so I painted and started doing second coats on Saturday. Yesterday morning it rained, so it's been by the time it stopped raining, it has been a good 24 hours of it being pretty warm. So I'm gonna trust that it's mostly dry or dry enough since there's already a coat on it. What you wanna worry about most is that the moisture is still in the ground even though it's not seen like on top of the pavement at all, or the asphalt. So we are gonna go finish up, we as in me today, just me, I am going to finish the second layers on the map and call it a day, and then take pictures and do all the things. And then I have to go finish the hopscotch I'm doing on the other side, and I can kind of lead you through that process as well. It's kind of the same idea, but I'll at least show it to you. This is not a video about that, but I will show it to you at least.
Every day when I was finished, I tried to put up my 4 cones. They're little pop-up cones. They're really convenient and they fold up in your car, and then I used the caution tape to wrap around it as best as I could. What I should have started to do on day 1, but I sat there every morning before I started and pre-mixed full bottles of all my colors. And then again, I just want to emphasize that you do want you want to make sure you have enough paint at least to finish one state. You do want the colors to match best you can, but sometimes they were a little bit off. In the end, it actually all looked the same anyway, which I got pretty good at, but I did want to pre-mix all full bottles so I could just keep painting and try to get done. This was day 4, I believe, and I do believe I did part of day 5 in the morning until early afternoon probably to finish the second coats.
It is done. Don't step on the blue, it's wet. Do not step on that blue. I finished the map yesterday. That was super cool and exciting. Today I am going back to finish the hopscotch that I continued on with, which I'll show you a glimpse of. I have been on bending my knees and in really difficult positions for a while, and for a while feels like a week. I think it's day 1511, I'm not really sure, but I can't bend my right knee right now. So I mean, I can, but not without pain. So I highly recommend getting a lot of help if you're gonna do this. Overall, in the end, there's so many phases to designing a project, getting the project, designing the project, painting the project, going through the stress, and then finishing it and being like, wow, I could do that again. But no, you cannot, you will not. Yeah, I kind of want to do another one, because you figure everything out while you're on the way. Like, you figure out all the stressors, and so once you do that, you kind of crave doing it better. Maybe that's just me, I'm not sure. So maybe I will. Maybe remind me not to, but maybe I will. Does that make sense? So it was really fun. Those are my tips and tricks on at least doing the map or asphalt surface. And then I do hopscotches as well, but I will only be trying to do them on concrete. But now I know how it all works a little bit better. And last summer I did do, or the summer before, I did do an asphalt hopscotch. I'm actually gonna go check on that today. I'll show you that as well really quick, and then see how that holds up. I used a different paint though, which goes on better. However, I don't think it was appropriate for the surface, but I think it's been lasting, so I'll go check on that today, and then more videos coming soon. Thanks. Okay, so this is a hopscotch I painted in front of a fire station, and I think I painted it, and of course it doesn't have a date. I think it was 2 summers ago. So it was a firefighter hopscotch on asphalt, and you can see a lot of that's dirt, honestly, but you can see that it got pretty dirty on the white. So stuff looks like the paint is wearing down pretty good. This is where I used porch and patio paint. There's a fire, slide down the pole. Get your gear. Hat looks like it's fading pretty good. Boots, pants, jacket, mask, oxygen, and gloves. Get in the fire truck. Fire truck is definitely fading. Ooh, I'm sad about that. Sound the alarm. I mean, you can still see it and use it, which is pretty nice. This is a very well used trail. And then this is definitely faded, but I love the way that faded. I am brave, strong, heroic, resilient, and courageous. And then you did it. And the little puppy dog. So I need to check, but I do think it was 2 years ago. I honestly think it needs cleaned. There's just dirt everywhere. When I was painting this, it was kind of new asphalt, and the asphalt, the asphalt was getting into the paint, so little beads, I had to blow them off every morning. But so this was porch and patio paint, which is why I switched to the asphalt paint for this one.
So only time will tell, but I am very interested to see how the paint holds up from Sherwin-Williams. That is made specifically for more asphalt than rather it does work on cement as well, but I want to see how it holds up on the asphalt because I know originally the porch and patio paint was not ideal for asphalt, but I was so used to using it because I was previously painting cement for my first two. And then when I switched to asphalt, I didn't know any better and already bought the supplies. So obviously that one didn't hold up very well. This one, hopefully, I know it's going to be getting a lot more traffic and use every day by a lot of kids, but I'm just really hoping that it lasts because I did put a lot of effort into this, into making sure we use the right products and doing it properly. So I'm very curious to see, but again, I will probably have to check back in a few years. And I think that the price is probably going to be worth it. It's already more durable. It covers a lot better and it dries really quickly.
Okay, but how do we... Tadpoles! Huh? Look at the little fellas. They're nibbling my toes. Wow, so beautiful.